from NBC News, and so for Republicans, there's only 23 delegates up to grab. For Democrats, there are 33 that are up for grabs. So it's I'm going to be honest with you. I almost want to stop the show and start over at 9 because, you know, there's nothing to watch. Last week with Iowa, it was a nail biter. With this one, the only thing that we can say is 32. I said 33, but I meant 32 delegates in New Hampshire. But at this point, it's a matter of how badly will Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton, and what is the narrative that's going to come out of this? Right? How are they going to spin this? How's Bernie Sanders' team going to spin it? Because, you know, what good is a win if you can't run on that win, right? What do you think? What do you think the narrative is going to be tomorrow? How will the Hillary Clinton camp soften this blow?
I think that they're already prepared, and we haven't seen. They just are holding back. They know New Hampshire's weak, so they're letting this pass, and they're really relying on South Carolina and the so-called firewall. I actually saw an article, and I'm trying to find it now. I think it was CNN, but I'm not positive. It basically referring to how how the super PACs are prepared to throw everything they have at him and the establishment. Once New Hampshire passes, they essentially their narrative is that they were holding back.
Yeah.
I think there's a big possibility in that. But on Bernie's side, I think, from what I've read, he has a lot more organization on the ground in the other states. Hillary had to relocate a lot of money to Iowa because of how surprisingly he closed the gap. So I think that all the commentary you hear on wait till we get to the South, Bernie's not going to get anything. I think that they're underestimating the ground game and the groups that are fighting for Bernie as well. You have to remember that you have DFA, you have Move On, you have the Nurses Union, which has actually been a huge help to Bernie. I think out of all the unions so far, the Nurses Union has been the most significant. But you have a lot of that organization, and I think that may end up being a big difference for him.
Yeah, it actually is, and I'm looking at some of his ground game is actually expanding because of not just his boots on the ground, but because of the Move On, because of the endorsements that he has. They are really putting boots on the ground. So we're going to test this theory of this firewall. Yesterday, Ben Jealous of the NAACP came out with an endorsement for Bernie Sanders, which was, I think, is a really great thing. That's going to really test this firewall to see. That's just one. It has been rumored, and I think at this point we can probably go ahead and put Harry Belafonte on the list. He is if you don't know who Harry Belafonte is, I don't even know if I should explain it to you. So you can just look it up. Go Google Harry Belafonte, but that is definitely a great endorsement for Bernie Sanders. To put it into context, Harry Belafonte was at the March on Washington along with other distinguished actors. I'm trying to think of some of the names. The guy who played Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. What is this guy's name? It's gonna the famous Mark Antony. Somebody in the audience already has said it, and I can't think of it. Movie. Anyway, so Harry Belafonte is just a historical figure in the African-American community. And so with this endorsement, along with Ben Jealous, along with a lot of politicians that you don't know out of South Carolina, there are quite a few politicians that most of us would never know by name who absolutely are now endorsing Bernie Sanders, and that's going to make a huge difference in tearing down that firewall. And I think that they're going to throw all the more they can at Bernie Sanders at this point, because the momentum, they're going to try to block the momentum from tonight. They already started that 2 or 3 days ago, right? Then the next move is to not only hamper the momentum, but control the media narrative from here, from today going forward, that we fully expected this. This is his neighboring state. No politician has lost one of these in the primary if they're from a neighboring state against a sitting incumbent. You know, this whole talking point that Bill Clinton has perfectly prepared. So they're really going to do everything they can, because the most detrimental thing to Hillary Clinton at this point is a powerful media narrative of the success of the Bernie Sanders campaign, which enters in what David just mentioned, which is the boots on the ground that Bernie Sanders now has, the different endorsements that Bernie Sanders now has, and the place where these endorsements are, which is in the South, which is in the Black communities. So if Bernie Sanders can combine this win in New Hampshire with a successful media narrative, with picking apart piece by piece this Southern firewall, then you're going to really see this race shake up. There is, I think it's safe to say at this point, there is no guaranteed winner. There is no heir apparent. It is a coin toss at this point who is going to win this nomination. And a year ago, I don't think anyone could say that with a straight face. I don't know. What do you think, David?
I definitely don't think so. When Bernie first announced, I heard it at the beginning when he first announced the candidacy, before he even had the big rally, when he just had a small press conference. And I honestly didn't think that it was going to go very far. I knew I'd support him, but I wasn't sure exactly where it was going to go and how it was going to look. He's shocked me, so I can only imagine how much he shocked the establishment. I'm notable per se, but I think that it's really surprising. I think that it proves the hunger for something real.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else that we've been seeing, I think it just shows how understated the real opinions out there and the real views are that aren't being spoken for. And the same goes for Trump, unfortunately.
Yeah. This thing has been bothering me, guys. I don't know if you could tell. I was filibustering as much as I could because I had to find this actor's name. It was driving me crazy. Marlon Brando. He played Mark Antony and Julius Caesar. Marlon Brando was at the March on Washington in 1964, along with Harry Belafonte, along with a litany of Hollywood actors who believed in the civil rights movement. So that's how long Harry Belafonte has been on the scene. That's how deeply rooted Harry Belafonte is in the historical civil rights movement. And so for Bernie Sanders to get this endorsement from Harry Belafonte is a tremendous thing in terms of just Black culture in general, but the civil rights movement in specific. And I can't really there's no one person who's the gateway for the Black community. But this, I think, is a really, really great endorsement. I guess you would consider compare it to like a Brad Pitt for the Marlon Brando-esque, and whatever, like a John Legend, a Common, or somebody who is just a culturally intellect in terms of the Black community, but they are also an artist / musician / actor. I just don't think that there's too many people who shouldn't know who Harry Belafonte is, but I just wanted to give it some context for some listeners who might not understand the role that Harry Belafonte played in the civil rights movement and Black culture. Now, here are these exit polls that I wanted to give you.